Hi, my name is Eva Halvarsson and I am the CEO of AP2. AP2 is an independent government agency and one of 5 buffer funds within the Swedish pension system. We have about 40 billion euros under management in virtually every asset class all over the world. And we have been working with sustainability more or less since inception 20 years ago. And our very first initiative was around diversity and gender equality when we decided to create something that we call the Female Representation Index that we now have been publishing for the last 18 years. In that, we follow the development in Sweden from women students in a number of university educations to top-level positions in listed companies and to the boards of listed companies. Here you can see a graph from our latest index published last year. You can notice that the proportion of women on the boards of companies listed on Nasdaq Stockholm for the first time since 2013 is down slightly and now amounts to about 34%. On the other hand, the proportion of women in executive positions for the 10th consecutive year increased and amounted to around 24%. And for the first time, more than 10% of listed companies' CEOs are women. One interesting observation when comparing the development of women in boards and in executive positions is that while the number of women in C-suite slowly but steadily has increased, the number of women in boards are more jumpy, probably because of some political threats on regulation. At AP2, we have seen as our role to keep providing the society with facts around this to prevent the development to slow down if it momentarily would look a lot better. And only 10% female CEOs in the listed companies is certainly not very impressive. So we need to keep going. And why is gender equality and diversity important to us? Because we believe that a broad recruitment base gives you the possibility to create the best boards and management teams, which in returns create good companies and positive returns for us as investors. And by bringing the facts forward in our female index, our conclusion has been that there is a lot of underused women competence out there, and we want to get hold of it to be able to develop our investments in the best possible way. Because, frankly, I will soon show you a picture. If you want to create a good environment for the best ideas to thrive and develop, which of these two groups would you think make up the most successful team? And another reason that we are working with issues around diversity, equality and inclusion is that it is strongly relates to our own organizational core values and how we want to lead and develop AP2. I find it hard to believe that we would be able to continue to attract and retain the best people if we didn't that we welcome different people with different background. It may be harder in the beginning to lead a diverse team, but in the long run, it's much more rewarding because coming back to the 6 white men around the table that you just saw, why would you expect a very homogeneous group of people to come up with the best, brave and new ideas? With that said, this is something that also worries me when it comes to large part of the private equity industry. Not only that it is lacking women at the top, but also that very many of the top executives have the same background in both education and their former employments. To me, that raises the question if these managers really are best equipped to find the best business opportunities of tomorrow. And from a personal perspective, I have another angle of working with equality. I grew up as a single child in a small village in the middle of Sweden, and my father died when I was only 10. And after that, I grew up with my mother and my grandfather. There were no academics in our family or otherwise around me, and no such role models to look up to. But I was raised with a strong feeling that I would have an equal opportunity to everybody else. So that's why this question is important to me. At AP2, we are working with diversity in many different ways. Through initiatives in our corporate governance activities and through our investment portfolio. I would like to take this opportunity to share a few of them with you. I hope they can be of interest and hopefully for some inspiration. One tool that we use frequently is to engage in the nomination committee of the Swedish companies where we are one of the largest owners. According to Swedish corporate governance, a group of the largest owners are appointed to work together to put forward a proposal to the AGM for new board members and some other issues. One interesting observation from our work in the nomination committees over the years is that there is a positive correlation between nomination committees with women in them and boards with higher proportion of women. And when it comes to voting at AGMs, we always vote no if there is a proposal for a board with only one gender. We have voted no to a number of proposals of boards with only men, but so far I have never seen a suggestion for a board with only women. But if we did, we would vote no because we strongly believe in diversity. Coming back to the issue of private equity, diversity is very much a priority when we do our due diligence ahead of investment in a private equity company. Our model for due diligence evaluates the sustainability practice of private equity managers using 25 different assessments points, which include diversity and inclusion. And some examples of the question that we raise to the managers are: what does diversity look within your company, among your employees and among management? Do you have policies and guidelines in place, and how have they been implemented throughout the organization? How does the recruitment process include diversity? How is diversity embedded within the company culture, and what are the goals that you have for diversity and inclusion? The aim for us is to drive change, and the issues are reviewed, monitored, and discussed continuously with the managers. We have a scoreboard that we share with our largest private equity funds, where they can see their own scores compared to some of their competitors, anonymous, of course. And our experience is that it has been a very good tool for creating positive development, because who wants to be last in comparison? Another way to promote diversity is through investments in social bonds. AP2 is known in Sweden to have the largest and most structured portfolio for social bonds. We have, for example, invested in a social bond issued by the World Bank that focuses on equality. The purpose of the bond is to increase knowledge on equality issues in general and to protect and advance the right of all women and girls. These are expected to stimulate economic growth, reduce poverty, and support the creation of a more sustainable society, which means that this bond is in line with the Sustainable Development Goal number 5, gender equality, that you saw me hugging before. Another investment connected to gender equality that's close to my heart is the Women's Entrepreneur Opportunity Facility. It's a fund backed by IFC and Goldman Sachs 1000 Women Initiative, aimed at helping finance women-owned small and medium enterprises in emerging markets. And in connection to that, I had the opportunity a few years ago to take part in a female leadership journey arranged by Dutch SMO to Ghana. We were about 20 women from the US, Europe, and Ghana. And it was a great experience to on-site be able to take part of the challenges that the Ghanaian entrepreneurs were facing, a lot of them only because they were women. It was also interesting and encouraging to see that many of our leadership challenges were so similar, and that it was extremely rewarding to discuss them together. One last tool that I wanted to highlight that we see as a way for us to learn more about diversity is working as mentors in a Swedish organization called My Life. That's an organization dedicated to increase diversity and integration in the Swedish labor market. Each year, under the organization's monitoring program, 5 of our employees have the opportunity to be mentors for academics with foreign backgrounds who are seeking employment that correspond to their professional qualifications. Some years ago, I took part as a mentor, and my mentee and myself are both trained in accountant, and we both have a background from the National Revenue Service. For him, Allah, as he's called, it was working in Damascus in Syria, and for me it was in Sweden. And over the time we worked together, we learned a lot from each other. So this was a truly great experience. And through My Life, all of AP2's employees also receives training in issues around diversity. And in addition to that, the fund's managers have received separate training to better understand our unconscious biases, etc. I would like to leave you with a picture from one of the graduations where the mentees and mentors celebrate their work together, and hope that you will get as inspired as I do when I look at this by the energy that really radiates from this group. Thank you so much.